Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, Jack Sputnik here, and today we are going to talk about Panasonic LUMIX S5. So this is the hero of the day. Let's get right into it, okay? So S5 is, in my personal opinion, a very underrated camera. And why do I say that? Because you know, the ratio of price and you know, like the quality and possibilities ratio here is just fantastic, and I will prove it right now. So let's start with ergonomy. And when it comes to ergonomy, this camera is just great. It shines. So you have like standard two these rotators here just to change f-stop and shutter speed. You have mode dial here. You have you know, like single frame, continuous shoot, and you know, like this dial here on the top to change like shooting modes. And then you have at the back part of the camera, you have this switch between single autofocus, continuous autofocus, and manual focus, and then you can change the mode of the focus by pressing this button inside. So for example, switch from face tracking to like for example, like point autofocus. So this is just wonderful. You have big red button here to start recording video, which is great. Then you have two SD card slot, which one is faster, one is slower. So one is a SDXC2 and one is SDXC1. And then you have this you know, joystick, which is very important in my opinion, like autofocus joystick. So it's just right here. It works pretty good. Then you have this quick menu that you can fully customize according to your taste, and this is wonderful because you can customize, for example, highlights, shadows, or sharpness, or noise reduction. You can customize a lot of things that are not that easy to customize in other systems. So this is just great. Of course, on the left, you have pretty much what you would expect of a budget-friendly video-oriented camera, which is jack input, microphone input. You have micro HDMI, and you have USB-C. And you can also charge this camera with this USB-C, which is great. The other thing is you have on the top here, you have three buttons, which is white balance, ISO, and exposure correction. And that's pretty much it when it comes to the important things. So I feel like this camera is really nicely organized. You have to get used to it, of course. So if I'm a Sony shooter, I am a Sony shooter, so then you know, sometimes it might be like a little daunting, but hey, it's not bad. You have viewfinder that is not awesome, but to me it's okay, honestly. I didn't find it to be a problem. You have touchscreen, and what is very important, whole menu system can be operated by touch. So basically whatever you touch, you can switch it off or on. You can change many options just using your fingers. So that's very good. And on the left side, you have some mysterious remote input here. I don't have the remote, I didn't test it. No idea. When it comes to lenses itself, those lenses are very simple. Those that I have is 35mm 1.8. It's only AF, MF, manual focus, autofocus switch on it. And same goes to the standard kit lens 20-60, which I will talk more about later on, which is autofocus, manual focus switch, and two rings, and that's it. And everything works pretty smooth. It's very well designed, very well made. It looks like a very good system. And the grip is very comfortable. It does really stand out to me. It's deep. It's very solid, and I can feel like that camera is like in my hand. So really good job, Panasonic. Okay, now let's talk about photography and image quality. So when it comes to photography, you know, I will be talking a lot about autofocus because autofocus is kind of, you know, people say it's bad in Panasonic, but honestly, I didn't find this to be the case. And very important disclaimer, this is not sponsored by Panasonic. I had to buy this 20-60, for example, myself, and this set was sent to me by Panasonic, but nothing more, and I have to send it back. Unfortunately, because I wouldn't mind to stay with one of these. However, as we have these formalities, like done, let's focus on image quality and autofocus. So when it comes to photography, you can see yourself, like I have this shaky footage from my phone where I was shooting my son riding on his bike towards me, and you can see that autofocus in photo mode was just locked on him as a moving object. Then even when he was passing by, it still was like, it was still detecting his face. So up to the last frame that even didn't make any sense anymore, but even at this last frame, the autofocus was just right there at his face. So I think this is like pretty spectacular to me, and I feel like, I don't feel like there's some limit to this autofocus in photography mode. And if you take a look at pictures that I generally took in city center of Faro, a beautiful little town that I live in southern Portugal, then you can see for yourself that it works pretty good. And you can see pictures of my friend Martina, you can see pictures of my wife, and I don't know, like it seems good to me. When it comes to dynamic range, when you take a look at this wide shot here, taken with this kit lens, I thought, okay, the houses, these yellow houses in the back are a little burnt out, but honestly, this is not the case, because as soon as you drop the highlight, like this highlight exposure in Camera Raw or Lightroom down, then it already looks great. It recovered everything, so I don't have any burnouts there. So it's enough for me. For example, for a micro stock shooter like me, this is just perfectly fine. I also tested like, work in very harsh light conditions. You can see portrait of my wife shot against the light, and she's got really like white hair, and the camera did pretty nice job. There is a burnout there in that case, so I would rather underexpose this picture. So this is a little pro tip for all the photographers thinking of this camera. So in harsh light conditions, better underexpose in that case, because I feel like Panasonic have this little tendency to overexpose. However, this is just a minor little thing, and all in all, I think like that both the lenses and this camera like works perfectly fine. When it comes to lens 35 millimeters, I feel like this lens is super sharp, very fast, very quiet, and very nice, and not too big. So honestly, like a really nice 35 millimeter lens. It's not too cheap, so I guess like it was supposed to be nicely made, and it is. It's not too heavy though, and not too big, and you can see this set is pretty compact, and I like it. And when it comes to automatic autofocus, like I felt like this is very intuitive. So when you see these green doors here, it focused on the handle, not on the doors, not presenting the pattern of the doors, but presenting the handle, because this was standing out. And this is exactly where I wanted this focus to be. And I didn't touch just to focus there. I left it to AI, and AI did great job. So good job with autofocus, good job with dynamic range. Let's talk about like low light performance. You can see portraits of my friend Krzysztof, and these portraits to me are, like clear proof that this camera is doing a great job in low light. So autofocus worked pretty nicely. And it was dark. It's ISO 8000, and I had like 1.8 at this 35 millimeter lens, and voila, it's really good. So up to 6400, I feel like ISO is completely usable both in photo and video. I will talk about video later. However, I feel like this ISO performance, low light performance of this camera is pretty good. When it comes to the kit lens, it's one of the most interesting kit lenses, if not the most interesting kit lens on the market. So Panasonic LUMIX S20 to 60. 3.5 to 5.6, so like, f-stop is kind of regular. You have the switch that I talked about before, AF/MF. But the fact itself that it does have on the full frame 20 millimeters at the beginning and 60 millimeters at the end is like, it's exactly what I would love to see in every system. 20 to 60, 65 preferably, but 60 is okay. So basically, if I want anything longer than 60, I will in most cases have to switch to something much longer, like 70 to 200. And if I need, and which is like super rare, anything wider than 20 millimeters, I would definitely go for, I don't know, 12 to 24, I think, right? Or I would go to 16 to 35 that I have for Sony system that I use personally. However, 20 millimeters at the beginning, come on, this is wonderful. And I thought, when I heard of it, I thought like, no, 20 millimeters, it will be like huge barrel, and then like you will get like huge pincushion there when it comes to 60 millimeters. However, this is not the case. Look at the tests here. I shot this old window in city center Faro, and voila, at 20 millimeters, no barrel effect, and I had lens correction turned off. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I was really surprised that it works so good. So 20 millimeters straight, 60 millimeters straight, sharpness from center to corner, pretty good. Of course, at 5.6, worse than at, I don't know, like 9. Or at 20, 3.5, a little bit worse than at 5.6. However, having said that, vignetting is not a big deal here, and drop of sharpness in the corner is really not a big deal here. So very, very good job, Panasonic, with this kit lens. And honestly, this kit lens was just temptation to me to switch to Panasonic system. I would love to see those in Sony system, but maybe one day, one beautiful day. All right, so I think you have pretty complete picture when it comes to photography. You could see a lot of pictures that I took with this camera. And one thing, it does have a super resolution mode, which is mostly useful in my opinion when it comes to JPEG files. However, it's great to have because the amount of details at those with those when like the sensor is moving and creating this 90 megapixel image is just amazing. So if you're up for that, it's there. And JPEG quality without high resolution, but generally JPEG quality out of this camera, specifically when you tweak it according to your needs, as you can see, is phenomenal. It's really good. I love it. I love the look straight out of the camera, and some of the pictures, I could even say, when you tweak it in a really, really right way, may not need too much of post-processing if you like to leave pictures as they are and you do not post-process, which is not my case because I post-process every single picture. All right. Now video mode, and video mode is something that is like very tempting in case of this camera, because you get very good, very good, array of, like selection of codecs and not codecs, but bit rates, and you have 10 bits, 4K, 60 frames per second, 4K, which is very tempting. So there are some limits here, and you have to be aware of those limits. It's not A7S free, for sure, it's not. But for creative use, I feel like this camera is just giving us what we need. So there's nice slow motion in 60 frames per second in 4K. There's a very nice looking 10-bit 4K 24 frames per second, which I obviously love. And I feel like dynamic range, look, from this camera, everything is just right there. And now let's talk about autofocus, because I think this autofocus is just the main thing for videographers there, and there's been a lot of discussion about this autofocus, if it's really right for videographers or not. So according to my tests, it's really not that bad. I don't get it. Like people say it's okay, like Panasonic, okay, it's perfect if you're a manual video shooter, but I tested it with my wife walking, with my son riding a bike, and okay, it's not the best out there, okay? And it can get lost for a while. That's true, depending on the settings, because I was tweaking it a little bit, tweaking, and you can get there definitely. But for example, I heard a lot of opinions out there that in low light it just doesn't work right. However, I don't know, maybe this is some kind of recent firmware upgrade, because I upgraded to the newest firmware, and maybe that's what changed a lot here. Look at, this recording from my phone as I tested with my friend Krzysztof in the evening. So this is 30 millimeters, 1.8, and we are at 8000 ISO there. really. So it's really, really dark. I mean, not totally dark, but it's dark, you know, and there's no artificial lights around, and it was way after sunset, so you can see for yourself, like, it didn't lose his face even when he turned around. AI knew that this is his head, and when he was, you know, when his face was back in the frame, it was pretty sharp. There are some little moments when it got lost. However, in such difficult, you know, light conditions, low light conditions, like, I mean, most of cameras would have some struggle here and there. So I feel like I don't know, like, it's pretty okay. I mean, if you feel it's different or I didn't take into consideration something out there, like, let me know in comments below, because I really want to know what do you think of that. However, coming back, image stabilization is another plus of Panasonic S5. Honestly, with 20 millimeters, you know, at the beginning of this kit lens and image stabilization on, you can easily vlog having this, you know, nice looking, fully, you know, flippy out screen. You can use it as a vlog camera. And by the way, it is pretty, it doesn't look like, it looks pretty solid, but it's pretty light. This camera is surprisingly light, so there's a nice balance between, you know, like, this camera being comfortable, but at the same time being light and being nicely designed for vloggers and travel photographers out there. So, to sum up, you know, ergonomically, this camera is really nice. I like the grip, I like all the buttons here, I like this, you know, switch to change focus modes and autofocus modes. I like the lenses, and I like the quality those lenses produce. I like the dynamic range. I like autofocus. It could be improved, and I think that sooner or later you will see firmware that improves a lot of you know, problems that this camera has in, you know, when it comes to video autofocus. However, honestly, nothing, you know, nothing strange there. I would say it's really okay. You might be worried about the amount of lenses and the prices of the lenses. And that's understandable, because when you look at Canon or Sony, firstly, like, you know, they have more lenses, definitely, and that's, you know, period, right? Sony, for example, is the most developed mirrorless system, and that's what it is. However, there's a lot of third-party lenses for L-mount. You can also have Leica lenses, however, they are super expensive. So, I mean, like, this will be no-go for 90% of you guys. For me, no-go. However, there are beautiful manual lenses, for example, 7 Artesians or TT Artesians or whatever it's called. You know what I mean, right? TT Artesians? That sounded strange. Okay, anyways. However, what I want to say that Sigma does have a full lineup of their lenses with L-mount, which is, ta-da, everything you need. So basically, you buy this 20-60 kit lens, which is beautiful walk-around lens, perfect for travel photographers, which is like, you know, great in city, landscape, whatever. And then according to your needs and according to your profile, for example, if you're a wedding photographer, you can buy Sigma 50mm 1.4, and, you know, honestly, I could do whole wedding with just one lens. It may be, for some people that likes to see photographer with a lot of equipment, it may look strange, but that's it. I just love that lens. Sigma 50mm 1.4 art, perfect. 35mm 1.4, you have 80mm, you have 135, you have 24, correct me if I'm wrong. Yes, I think you have. So basically, and those lenses are pretty affordable when it comes to, you know, quality and price ratio. So basically, you can build a nice system around S5 and have a very versatile tool in a very reasonable price. Let me know in comments below what you think of S5, and if I didn't mention something that is important and you feel like I should mention. And of course, don't forget about likes, thumbs up, and subscribe. It helps me a lot, and I see you guys in the next one.